Chanterelle season is in full swing. Here's what you should look for if you want to positively identify these foragers' favorite mushrooms. There are lots of different kinds of chanterelles, and luckily you can forage all of them.
Most chanterelles you see will look similar to this. Funnel-shaped with a wavy margin and false gills that run down the stipe or decurrent. Typically found growing singularly, but they can sometimes grow in clusters. There are many different species that look very similar to this, and you can pretty much get away with calling all of them golden chanterelles, though there are some small differences and they grow in different places around the world. They are commonly described as having an apricot smell. I find these relatively small, fragile ones most often in my area, and they don't have that smell.
These are the smooth chanterelles. They don't have those false gills on the bottom. They're completely smooth.
I do notice the apricot smell on these Chanterellus literidius, or the smooth chanterelle. This is my favorite species of chanterelle that grows in my area. They are meatier and sweeter than many of the other species. You may see some faint lines or ridges on the larger smooth chanterelles, but this looks very different from the false gills you would see on the golden chanterelles. This also makes them easier to clean.
Here's the Cineabar chanterelles. They're much smaller than the other types of chanterelles you might see.
This is Chanterellus Cineabarinus. They are a gorgeous bright red color, and they hold their color even when cooked. Their small size makes them more difficult to harvest and more difficult to clean, so they're not my favorite chanterelle, but they are still a good edible mushroom.
They have those signature chanterelle false gills. One thing to keep in mind if you plan on foraging for the Cineabar chanterelles is that there are some wax caps that look very similar. Now, luckily these wax caps are also non-toxic, but they're not as desirable for foragers. The wax caps get their name because if you rub the cap, they do feel very waxy. These appear more orange and shiny than the Cineabar chanterelles. These also have true gills on the bottom. Here's a side-by-side with the Cineabar chanterelle and the wax cap.
It's important to know how to identify the jack-o'-lantern mushroom and the Omphalotus genus if you plan on foraging chanterelles. You'll typically see jack-o'-lantern mushrooms growing in clusters at the base of a tree.
This is a chanterelle. This is not.
Jack-o'-lanterns have true gills and they will be a mottled orange inside. If you break a chanterelle open, it will be completely white.